as a director, like you're working so hard to get a film made, and it's so much work, and there's so much competition, and it takes so much to get a feature film up and made, that it's like, it's almost just the making that is the victory. Like it almost, of course it matters how good it is, and we're working super hard to make sure it's the best it can be. But if you can get a film made, like you've kind of already won.
Film is an interesting one because there is like the metric of success is very much external, right? Like you're relying on a lot of people giving you the props. Like there are numbers that are tied to justify how successful a movie is. Even something like a Rotten Tomatoes score, right? That's going to determine the quality of a movie, which is judged by...
Truly insane.
Yeah, so there's the critics and then there's the audience score. And very often they're quite polarizing as well. Right?
But there's no nuance though, because in Rotten Tomatoes, a critic goes, yes, I like it, or yes, I don't, or no, I don't. And that's the only metric they're judging on. And so a critic could go like, this is okay. Like, I like it enough that I'm not going to give it a thumbs down, but it's not a great movie, and it gets the thumbs up, you know, and that feeds the metric. So...
And then opening weekend is another metric. Yeah. And then the timing of that, when the movie is going to be released. What other movies is it going up against? What other current events are happening at the time is going to determine the success of the movie. But in a lot of ways, you're right. Like it's the making, the production, the whole process from start to finish and getting it out. It's got to be such a fucking relief as well once it's done.
You know, it's terrifying. Like I haven't made a feature yet, but I've done a bunch of shorts, and like, you know, Letterboxd is a new. Are you aware of Letterboxd?
I'm aware of it. I haven't jumped into it. I haven't collated my Letterboxd or anything. So tell me a little bit more about it, because that comes up a lot, and I really should be jumping on that. But I feel like that's just going to be a rabbit hole of me having to curate my library and then set up my whole system and reviews and.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's designed in such a way that you'll fit into it how you want to. Like, it takes as little or as much effort as you want. Essentially, like, it's kind of social media for film fans or film watchers. And the cool thing about it, and my favorite feature is, like, just kind of the stats. Like, I'm a bit of a stats guy. You can log everything you've watched, and you can obviously give it a rating or not. You know, some people might rate, review, and, like or dislike every movie they watch. But, like... Personally, I just like to give it a star rating and sometimes say a few words about it, but it's almost just for my own, you know, records. But then you connect with people, like you find reviewers who you love their opinion, and then you see who they're following and whose reviews they're liking, and you follow them. You sort of start to build a loose network, but it's not really, you're not really interacting with people as much as you are on Instagram or Facebook. It's more like, it's like a social media, but it's very much connected to like a very specific subset of society, which is film and film fans.
I kind of see it like almost like a MySpace, how it's your thing and you can connect your thing with other people's, right? So like...
Yeah, less connected than, you know, MySpace was you comment on their wall rather than like...
But you're creating your
on
wall.
Each other's. Yeah. But just to finish that earlier thought, it's like Letterboxd is kind of scary because you put something out in the world and, you know, I haven't even done anything that would garner that many reviews. But certainly, particularly my recent Tropfest short got seen by enough people that people are logging it, and total randoms that have no connection with me whatsoever and don't give a damn about what I think of them.
What do they say?
Like a mixed bag. Like people hate it, people love it. You know, I'd say generally like the feeling is pretty positive. Like it's probably more leaning on the positive side. But people savage it, you know, and then other people... have a thought and link to some other video, and their friends comment on their review of my film, and I'm just like, wow, this is cool. It's like there's something happening. Yeah. You're creating something that's creating a bit of a conversation that you're not even part of.
Creating dialogue. Yeah. That's the idea, really, isn't it?
And like I think Letterboxd is cool in the way that like in the 70s you go watch a movie and then you go and watch you go and read your favorite reviewers' review, critics' review in like the paper. And you talk about it with your friends, your immediate friends, and that's about as far as it goes. But now we can have this, you know, this longer dialogue, and we can take part in something. We can kind of find our people. But it's terrifying, man. Like, and so many creators say this about so many types of art, but when people are mean about something you've made, the tendency is to immediately say, why don't you go and make something?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know how hard it is for me to make this thing? But it's like, and I think when I was younger, I was definitely more prone to lean in towards that kind of attitude. But I think as I've gained a bit of age and perspective, it's like, no, like bring it on. Like, you know, like I want to hear the negative stuff because it means that someone's engaging with the thing I've made. Like if it made you angry, like it made you feel something. I hope you don't, it's so angry that it's affecting your mental health or something. But like, who am I to think that I'm going to be in a privileged enough position to make art that lots of people would see and then think that everyone has to love it? Like that's crazy. Like I'm making something and giving it to the world saying, enjoy or like, you know, experience this thing. And so I have to take the negative with the positive, you know.
But even with negative, you've got to distinguish between just flat out slander and someone giving some kind of criticism through their perspective, their lens, so to speak. You know, so it can be constructive, but at the same time, like if they're just being assholes, and you can just take that as face value, be like, oh, okay, that's you. That's a you projection. Thing. Yeah. So, and that's kind of nice. It's a good feeling as well. Like I remember when I had my first criticism or my first bit of slander, a comment on YouTube, and I felt so flattered by it. Like, man, you took the time to do that. I remember I shared it on. I just took a screenshot and shared it on Instagram, and I had all these people just messaging me. It's like, oh fuck that guy! I was like, no, you missed. Yeah, it's like, no, you missed the point. It was a trophy. I was displaying it and just trying to show you, like, I fucking made it now. Like I'm creating this sort of tension, and that's the idea. Like I know that the conversations that we have on this podcast, there are a lot of people that don't vibe with it. Or just flat out just disagree. Right? Like there are some people that do feel compelled if they want to create something that there is an expectation that a lot of people are going to love it. And, you know, like what is the metric for that? What's your measure? And even if you were to get a score of like in the 90s, it's not 100. And then is that couple of percent going to just rub you the wrong way? You're like, fuck, like who are these people that gave those downvotes? What do they have to say about it?
Yeah, it's like a negative comment will carry so much more weight than you'll skip past someone saying, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life, and go straight to the person who's like, I didn't really like this because of X, you know?
Yeah. But there's so much grey area as to what someone will find appealing, like what people will enjoy, right? Like there's no one type of movie. There's, you know, that's why we kind of like, we have the genres, but even more so that there's a lot of cross genres and movies that are breaking molds, and is just a bit of like, what the fuck was that? And like almost like just experiences in and of themselves. And you don't know what you're going to like until you actually sit there and take it in. And it doesn't even have to necessarily come with a big budget. Like was it Endgame? They spent like $1.5 billion on it.
Probably.
Like, what the fuck is that about? And you know, that's almost like that's an investment, right? So it wasn't even there to reap the returns from box office. It was more like, we're going to cast this out because we know what can come of this. There's going to be merch. There's going to be other licensing deals that we're going to make from this. So
it's launching new characters that we can then spin off into whole new movies.
Yeah, it's just an investment. And yeah, so it does make me wonder as well, like just leading into the next, I guess, like it just got me thinking, like, we were talking about how, like, we said that the Lakers, that they don't have to win, right? They don't have to win to be relevant. They just have to, what's their metric of success? And I guess that's also another thing for movies, right? Like these days, movies aren't necessarily made to be the best movie. Like, what's the intention? It could just be to just grab the attention for a little while, or like streaming platforms, right? Like, what are they trying to do? They're just trying to keep us locked in, right? And keep us locked in for that 90 minutes, or just the particular way a TV show, the cadence of the release, just to keep us coming back. So it's just, I guess that they're built a little bit differently now. The media that we consume, because we're consuming differently. So the goalposts have
And
to
there's
shift
just
a bit.
so many more people, and there's also so much more stuff being made, you know? Like traditionally, a film would be released, like in the States, for example, traditionally a film would be released in New York and LA, and then depending on how well it would go, they would sort of start to feed it out across the country and grow the number of screens. And so someone would kind of like, something would kind of be a snowball rolling down a hill and gather steam, or it would peter out and then leave the cinemas. And with kind of the rise of the blockbuster, like the Star Wars and the Jaws and stuff, they started going immediate release around the whole country on every screen at once, which obviously exponentially raised the ceiling for like how much money they could make. But it meant that now there's like more films competing for fewer screens, if that makes sense. And that's even crazier now because, you know, if you actually look at how many like kind of Hollywood level production feature films are made a year, it's crazy, like hundreds and hundreds. And so it's like there's no way they're all going to be able to go on into the cinema and get a wide release every year. So, you know, I guess from my perspective, in terms of what I'm trying to do with my feature film, I'm making a sci-fi murder mystery, which is a pretty specific niche genre. And what of course I'm trying to consider the audience, and I'm trying to make something that would be, specific but broad enough that like you'd be happy to show your wife or your friend who maybe isn't heaps into sci-fi, and you could be like, this is great. The relationships at the core of this film move me, and I think this is exciting and worth sharing. But at the same time, it's like, in some ways, what we're really hoping for is that we'll make this thing and it will find its niche, and it'll end up on, I would love cinema release, but it's hard to get. But it would end up on the right streaming services and potentially over time find its audience and like give us opportunities to keep making feature films. And in some ways, like that's, in my mind, a realistic goal to have. And I think it's important to be realistic. Of course, there's stretch like crazy goals, but then the other end of the spectrum is like it doesn't get made at all. So,
has the strategy changed a lot over like even the last couple of years? We can even just go pair it back to like the last 10 years, right? Where when you were saying that the goal is a cinematic release, but that seems to be not even less and less likely, but less and less enticing because it just, I guess the cost of that is massive, where the cost of having it just put on a streaming service is nothing, right? Like it's just whatever arrangement you have with that service. There's no manufacturing, there's no production. Actually, probably not even now. I'm thinking film. They don't even press on film anymore.
But the thing is that, if Netflix buys your film, they own it forever.
They own it.
If it's a Netflix original. So you can never sell it to anyone else. It'll be on there forever or until they choose to take it off.
How does that work? So would they fund the production of it?
It depends. So like, yes, sometimes you could sell it to them and they'll fund the production of it. Or I know a person who was making a feature film and they cut a trailer before they'd even finished making it and sent it to Netflix, and Netflix said, we want to make this a Netflix original.
Right.
So we're going to like basically buy the film off you before you've even made it, which, for producers who are worried about making the budget back, and particularly if you spend a lot of money, that's pretty enticing, I think. But at the time they were spending, I think they would buy the film from you for like the budget plus 30% or something, or 40%. So you'd make a small profit for your investors and everything. But then it's a Netflix original forever. Like there's no like the license expires in 3 years, you can renegotiate or you can sell it to other streaming services. It's just ours.
So you just get the one-off payment and that's it.
Exactly, which is crazy because, there's huge risk inherent in making a film for a lot of money and hoping it'll play well at a festival, get bored, and then get a wide release. Like that's very rare. But it means that that film you're making will not have a Sixth Sense style fairy tale story where like you make it for 60 million or 30 million and it makes $600 million and literally sets everyone involved up for life. That can't happen obviously with the Netflix original. So, but hey man, like you're getting paid to make something and you're hopefully getting another opportunity to make something else. And like for me now, at this point in my life, I'm like, the goal is 100% to like have a sustainable career making feature films. I'm not there yet, but like if I make something and it does okay enough to get me another opportunity to make something else and get paid for it, like I'm winning.
That sounds like the hardest gig trying to have a sustainable career as a filmmaker? Because how long would it take you for even one of your shorts? How long would that take from end to end, from writing it through till final cut?
Yeah, so it depends. Like I think Alpha Test, which you've seen, is maybe like a year, which is kind of short for some people. But then Unprompted, which was my Tropfest short, it's like we wrote it the next month, we were shooting it, and 2 months later it was playing in Sydney. So like that's rare, and that's a very short film. And like we shot it in my house and stuff, like very, very sustainably. But yeah, like a short film life cycle might be like a couple years. A feature film though, the average time it takes a debut feature filmmaker to make their first film is 8 years of like trying specifically to make that film. And then, the best case scenario, they make it, it blows up at Sundance and gets a wide release or whatever. It'll likely be another 3 years before their next film comes out. Like it's crazy, but this is why I love film so much, because it's, in my mind, it combines every art form. It's the moving, it's 24 to 25 pictures a second. So it's, it's the visual language, not to mention production design and the technicality of the cameras and lighting. But then it's also performance, it's like stage, it's like a play, but in front of a camera. And then it's audio, it's music, it's sound design. It's kind of all of the things put into one. And so it's not something you can do on your own. Like people do it. You can make things on your own for sure, but not at the level that I'm talking about wanting to do.
It does get to a certain point where you're better off just trying to outsource, or outsource isn't the right word, collaborate would be more appropriate. Getting people that are stronger in those specific fields to band together and to, I guess, just to contribute to one bigger piece.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest skill of the director, right? To be able to lead and to convey and to almost just like get that sense of emotion from the people within the team. Dude, man, even just trying to collaborate on you just think about at uni, like a group assignment.
Yeah.
Right? Just trying to get people just to not even give it their best, but to not half-ass it. Impossible.
It's hard.
It's hard. And then when you're talking about trying to band together a team of people to contribute to, I guess it could be months of their lives to one particular project with no guarantee of anything. And just even for a pittance, right? Like, and for the hope that it leads to bigger projects. It's a big, hard ask. And, like I'm hats off to people that are in film. Like I've spoken with filmmakers before. And there's a different level of passion. It's not just the passion. It's not just the creative passion.
It's obsession.
It's obsession, but it's just determination as well, man. There's so much drive, and there's a great degree of problem solving and trying to move with things and to not get bogged down by shit that's not going right, because you're gonna get that. And there's just that degree of just trying to keep things moving forward while keeping all the things working in harmony.
I think about it as like the film is a train, and it has to keep moving forward. And you're the conductor, and you're at the front, and you're shoveling the coal into the engine, and it's going to be going faster at points. It's going to be going slower at points, and people are going to get on and off.
Yeah.
But like a train doesn't stop because someone gets off. Like it keeps going. Like you can't be like, oh, this person's dropped out. Oh, woe is me. Like, I thought they loved the idea. Like, what am I doing? It's like, nah, like just skin of a rhino. Like you got to keep moving forward. But it takes time to build that mindset, because like, filmmakers, like many artists, I'm sure, are like sensitive, emotional people like, who are doing it because they deeply care about telling stories. And, we're not always the most resilient. I think it's like resilience is actually like a skill set that you have to like build.
Yeah. You gotta have shit coming at you first to know whether or not you're resilient, and then when it does start coming at you, I think that's why a lot of the negative reviews is good, because if you can just continue to work through that, then you're set, man. Like I don't think that you can. If you really gave a shit about it, then you'll just keep on moving forward, and that train, like you're saying, doesn't stop.
I'm curious, like you've spoken to filmmakers on the podcast, like have you asked them why they do it?
Good question. Why? Go on.
Well, it's just like, yeah, it's because it's like
It is pretty insane, man. Making a film is
there's so many, there's so many other things people could be doing that would probably make them more money, and perhaps even more fulfillment. Like,
ooh, would you say so? More
well,
fulfillment.
Well, it depends on the person. Like,
Yeah.
for me, not so much. I kind of feel like this is the only thing I know how to do and am any good at. So like, I've always wanted to do this, and I think I'll always want to do it probably. But like, it's like it's. I'm sure the answer why is different for every person, but it's like it has to be pretty strong because you're pushing through a lot of stuff.
Would you say that even for you that you don't know what you're going up against until you start doing it?
Totally.
Like you write a story and you're like, oh, this could be a movie. I could make a thing out of this. And you're entering this world of known unknowns and unknown unknowns, right? And then you won't know what these unknown unknowns are until you get to a certain point. Mm-hmm. It's almost like that you could sit in stagnation and not do anything and be meh. But then when you're starting to move forward, and then that's when the resistance and all the bullshit that's going to be coming your way. I had this artist, Nathan Nankervis, and he kind of explained it best. He was talking about like when he went through uni, and, you have this grand idea that you're going to be an artist, and then you finish uni, and then all this shit starts happening. Right? All these things start to go wrong, and then you're thinking like, why is this happening to me? It's like, well, this is just what being an artist is about. It's like, this is what you asked for. It's just packaged in a way that you didn't expect, right? And I would imagine, like with filmmaking, that you don't know like how big of the challenge is going to be until you step into it. Like you're about to do your first feature, and you've done a few shorts, which is kind of like primed you. And it's kind of like, you probably wouldn't have even have thought about what other things I need. What are the pieces at play in a feature until you've done the shorts and like, okay, cool. Now it's just this, but bigger.
And like, being the fulcrum point of like decision making is the craziest thing for a director, because kind of the buck stops with you and everyone needs to pick your brain to like do their job. So it's pretty exhausting. But I think like for, it's interesting going into the why, because you can kind of keep breaking it down. You can like, why do you want to do this? And you say, and then like, but why? And you can kind of keep going deeper. And I think I sort of have done that self-examination before. And I think like for me, I some of the most powerful and moving sort of experiences in my life have been watching film. And I think when it really comes down to it, I want to create that for other people. I want to have made a film that made someone feel that way. So like every year on Christmas Eve, my family watches It's a Wonderful Life, classic Christmas movie, and cool story how that became a classic Christmas movie. But every year I watch that, I think it's basically a perfect film. It's my favorite movie. Even though I watch it every year, you could say you might be sick of it, but it's like I find something new in it every time I watch it. And every time I watch it, it makes me want to be a better man, and it's so interesting that as I've grown and watched it through my life, I've related differently to it at different points. As a younger guy with no partner, it's like I want to be a better like son or brother, or like just better to the people around me. And then now it's like 100% like I need to be, every time I'm like, want to be a better dad, be a better husband. And I just think like you read about the making of that film, you're like, it's so like, it's just a bunch of like real people struggling to make a thing that could have been really bad depending on if a few different decisions were made, and like they're not even necessarily good people making this thing. Like it's almost like someone striving for a standard that they can't actually reach themselves, but they want to put that on screen. And yet this thing that a bunch of broken people made like is speaking to people like 80 years later, still like in a really powerful way. And I'm like, that is like, it's not that I'm someone is seeking power, but it's like, that is power. Like that is like in my mind, like the sort of pinnacle of emotional storytelling in any form is like something like a concise, roughly 2-hour piece of content that will like change someone's life when they watch it. Like that to me is crazy. Like, and of course, you know, I'm saying I want to be someone who makes, you know, something as good as one of the most beloved classics of all time. But like, it's a high standard I'm setting for myself. And of course I'm not going to reach that. But you know, if I could just make something that makes one person feel that way, that would be incredible. Like,
I don't know if you can't, because it's like they probably didn't expect that it was going to have this longevity when the film was made. I think that a lot of the things that are like truly classics in any field, any genre, sports, film, music, it was accidental. I think in a lot of ways, like I think that if you're striving to that, you're going to then almost try to force ingredients into it, which will then just kind of take away from it. Where if you really just give it your best, as cliche as it sounds, like if you just have this one particular motive and yours is to really like pour the emotion into it and then to get it out of people, then whatever comes of it from that point on.
It's so true. I mean, that film didn't even, it made a bit of money. It didn't win Best Picture or anything. It kind of disappeared. And then decades later, I think in the 70s, one of the major networks was just looking for films to play at Christmas, and it had fallen into the public domain, and so they could just play it for free. So they just started playing it every year, and then it became this Christmas classic. You know, now people like me think it's inevitable, and it's not inevitable. Like, there's so many things went into like why that film is so well regarded and well seen. But like, yeah, I mean, it's, you wonder if the people that even made that film even understand the impact it had.
True.
Before they probably didn't. Like, the impact it's still having. And so, you know, art, it lives on beyond us, like, hopefully. And so it is, I feel like us creating art is like, we all do it differently, and like we all have our own processes and stuff, and some people are very emotional about it and some people are very pragmatic about it. Some people, it's like pouring out of them, and it's almost like if they don't create it, it's like their brain will explode because it's too full, and other people are like, it's just, you know, it's just something I do on a quiet night or whatever. But like, I do feel like it's like humans like connecting to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
Hell yeah,
accessing
man.
something inside of ourselves, and a lot of people just do it for themselves. It's not about the audience. But at the same time, you know, film, I think particularly film, because it costs so much money and takes so many people to make, you do have to be pragmatic about it. And you do have to, not always, but you have to try and consider the audience. So it's like, there'll definitely be decisions we make with our feature where we're like, this is what people would be expecting and want to see, so like, let's do the best version of that. Even if we want to be more esoteric and weird and interesting, like, that's not going to sell. Like, we have to, this has to be a commercial proposition if we're going to make another one.
It is a bit of a balancing act, because this morning I was talking to my son about, I was telling him that you're coming on, and explaining to him the process of not filmmaking, because I don't know about anything about filmmaking, but the process of just film, right? Because I was explaining to him that you do shorts and you're about to do your feature, and I'll explain to him the difference between the two, and then also just, you know, a feature, you have, let's call it 90 minutes, and I'll explain to him the 3 acts, and then
How old is your son?
10, almost 10, yeah,
Cool.
A month away. And I said, just pick two movies. I said, like, tell me 2 movies that you really liked. And the first one is like, ooh, I really like The Inside Man. I'm like, okay, all right.
Okay, all right.
I was thinking about something like, you know, Mario. But I was like, okay, cool, that's right. We can take Inside Man and Mario, and I can explain to you, let's look at the parallels, right? Like, you got the beginning, middle, end, and that's how you structure all these movies, right? And then there's an expectation. I want to ask you about that, right? Because there are some movies where there is the expectation of what's to come, and a lot of people go to movies to have that, you know, like the hero's journey as a really basic example. You want to see the underdog rise, firstly just get knocked down, rises to the challenge and overcomes the adversity. Brilliant. And then part 2. But then there's also movies where the twist is the thing from that movie, and it's the takeaway, and it's the thing that like spellbounds people, and it's the thing that just leaves the mark, like M. Night Shyamalan movies, right? Like, just that was, but then you end up going into it expecting that, right? So like, it's, I guess like much like how, like with comedians, you go into you're seeing a show, and if you kind of know what's coming, but then you don't, and then when the punchline's delivered, and then that's what engages you is the unexpected, or you are expecting the unexpected. So it's like for movies, I don't know, it's a bit of how much catering do you make to the audience, but then are you making assumptions that you shouldn't necessarily make?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I mean, like, you know, someone like David Lynch, right, who's a singular filmmaker, like, kind of just does whatever the hell he wants. You know, like, not a super conventional filmmaker, but such a unique singular voice that, like, it worked and people really loved it. I think, like, you're very astute in how you're describing that to your son and, like, talking about the expectations, because we talk about it as, like, trailer moments. Like, you're almost, when you're writing a feature script, you're, like, actually thinking about the beats that should be in the trailer. It's almost like you cut the trailer in your head before you even make the film out of what you've written down on the script, because you're like, if, like, we're making a sci-fi murder mystery, if we don't deliver on that premise, so in other words, if someone who loves Agatha Christie watches our trailer and we've really, you know, you can make something look like anything in 2.5 minutes. Like, you can make a feature film look like anything depending on how you cut it. But of course, if we're making a sci-fi murder mystery, we're going to cut the trailer to look like it's going to deliver on that promise. So they've seen the trailer going, oh, this is like Poirot, but like sci-fi with like holograms or whatever. So they're like, cool, like, I'm going to go because I want to see a good murder mystery. I want to be surprised and I want to feel like the film's a little bit ahead of me and I'm not quite following, and then it's all wrapped up at the end. It's really satisfying, and there's a few scary beats, and like there's got to be some clues where I'm like, oh, you know, like moments like that. And if you don't have enough, if you sell it as one thing and then don't deliver on that, people will be disappointed, right? And it's like they may not even be able to like enunciate why they're disappointed, but it's like you've sold them, they've paid money to see something, and then they were like kind of lied to about what it was.
Yeah, okay.
So there's multiple different story structures for films. You know, for your classic 2-hour movie in Hollywood these days, people generally stick to like a roughly 15 large beat structure. So, you know, you introduce the characters, you introduce the problem they're trying to solve, you set up the world, you have some wins, then at the midpoint you sort of flip things, then, you know, sort of midway through, towards the end of the second act, everything goes to hell. There's a few moments of like, crap, this couldn't get worse, then it gets worse. And then, you know, using what they've learned in the second act about themselves and through the B story, at the start of the third act, they like, you know, decide to change something, to do something differently usually. And then, you know, achieve victory at the end of the third act because they've used this thing they've learned to change their approach. And it's, you know, and so it's kind of like that's a satisfying story structure. I think you could roughly apply that to like most like fiction novels you read and stuff. And it's just kind of like how we like to consume stories. You can do it differently, and lots of people do. But like that's certainly the sort of story that I'll be looking to make. And you just try and iterate within that, right? You just try and do it a bit differently, or like present a world that people haven't seen before. It's like the familiar structure, but a world with really compelling characters. And if my film is about someone and their estranged father, like it's probably safe to say that people who are estranged from their fathers might relate more to it. You know what I mean?
I do want to see the villain win more.
Yeah, I mean,
because villains win in real life, right? Like I think that I want to see more of that. You know, like Usual Suspects.
But you're probably not that satisfied in a lot of movies because it's not how most movies end. Right?
Oh, I mean, look, I'm going in knowing how a movie's going to end, unless I'm caught off guard. Like Usual Suspects is one. Primal Fear, that one blew my fucking mind. You remember?
Yeah.
That just when the villain wins and there's nothing, and they just walk away, and then the protagonist is there like, I can't fucking do anything about this. It's game over. Like,
it's probably safe to say
I'm not saying that's satisfying, but I do like the juxtaposition.
Totally. I mean, Richard Gere and can't remember the actor who plays the cop in Usual Suspects, but like those two characters as the protagonists, like they've still learned something and changed and grown, right? But they just haven't like won at the end. Like, so I think they would still, those characters would still need to go on a journey in the movie, like, and you'd probably see that reflected in the story. But like, yeah, in my mind, something like Usual Suspects is a bit of an outlier because it's like the whole thing is kind of predicated on this giant twist that you don't know is coming.
That's true.
But you kind of can't. It's hard to watch that movie again because you're like, I know how it ends. Like, you know, or something like The Sixth Sense. And so the challenge is like with a film that has a twist in it to somehow deliver on that twist, but then you want it to be rewatchable as well. Like,
oh,
you know,
dude,
like,
I've seen Seven so many times.
Oh, such a good movie.
And that was when
I adore that movie.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect 10. That movie there, and
we kind of want to like, you know, riff on the aesthetic of that a little bit in our feature.
Oh really?
Yeah, obviously that's a very like a bigger budget film, but yeah.
As in just taking the inspiration from the aesthetic of it, so just
like the look and feel, the way it's shot, the way it's lit.
Oh really? Okay, so just like having it wet and raining all the time.
Yeah, well, our film takes place like 98% indoors, but yeah, there's a few scenes, and it's like if you have two outdoor scenes, you can get a rain machine, but too many days of shooting with rain machines is way too expensive.
So just having a bluey color grading to it.
Yeah, I mean that film is like that film is sort of dank and like,
yeah,
you know, it's in the best way. Like everything feels dirty and like, you know, nothing about it is sort of clean and manicured. Like
it just, you don't feel good, man. You know, like you really don't. Like it really leans into the whole just feeling disgusting. Yeah, you feel gross. Like there's no part of that movie where like
definitely our film has a much happier ending than that.
Oh, okay. Well, at least it's that. What I love about even the shorts, I loved Alpha Test. I thought that was fucking excellent.
So like the feature is very much.
Actually, can I even mention that I've seen it?
Yeah, of course. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. No, I thought it was clever. Really, really clever.
Did the twist get you?
It kind of did, but at the same time, I was already getting, I guess, like glimpses of Black Mirror. Mm-hmm. So it was
you're kind of expecting something.
Something's happening. Something's happening here, and I've got that. It's like, I guess from the two that I've seen, two pieces of your work, that there is a Black Mirror vibe to it, but also done in a way that's better than current Black Mirror, because I don't know what's going on there.
It's hit or miss, but when it's good, it's so good.
There's a particular trope that they have of, I guess, like our beings being uploaded in a digital format, and like, you know, that whole conundrum, is that us, is it not? I like that I guess that question, that philosophy that they ask in quite a lot of their shows, but I feel as though that there's a big space for that, because, you know, I don't know what the trajectory of all your productions are going to look like, but Black Mirror was really successful, especially early on, right? Like when it was that type of discomfort. We were watching something knowing that we're going to feel really not good about it.
It's like a little too close to real world, like with such a dark lens on it.
Well, again, man, like just quite ironically, Black Mirror, and we're watching it knowing that it is very close to real world, and calling it a dark lens. We're like looking at this thing, fuck, this is not making me feel good. It's like, well, you know, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure here. So it could just be that. It's just that we're so intrigued and interested in what's going on because we just see so many parallels. And I think that there's so much space for that type of film, because like we do like to feel that kind of discomfort. And I've never been one to like horror movies, but recently I have been watching a lot of them, and they're shit. A lot of them are just shit. I think that's a really hard genre to get right. So, you know, and then when you blend the sci-fi into it, mate, it hopefully just, you know, you hit the right notes.
Hopefully. I mean, thank you so much for saying that. It's like, I think, you know, we've set ourselves a big challenge, because horror traditionally is a genre that a lot of filmmakers kind of cut their teeth in, because it's like cheap to make. Like fear and laughter, sort of laughter is not an emotion, but like the idea of being of like a jump scare, and then the idea of like belly laughs, are like kind of in my mind the two like emotions that are like closest to the surface, like easiest to access, and you can manipulate them. And of course, a comedy will manipulate the laughter, and a horror will manipulate the fear. And so it's like sometimes I'll go and see a movie that like not in a genre that I like or particularly want to work in, but I want to like experience it with an audience on opening night. So I remember I went and saw Smile with, on like the opening weekend, and it was packed cinema. And I was probably the oldest person there by like 15 years. Like it was just all teenage, like high school kids with their girlfriends or whatever, like wanting to have that, like, that jump scare moment. And it was like, it was a movie that was just like hitting every trope. Like it was an interesting idea. And it was like well executed, but like, it was kind of, I could see the strings being pulled, right? But you're watching the audience. It was an electrifying experience because people were like so into it. And I'm like, and they made that for like a couple of $1 million, and it made a stupid amount of money. And it's because, it's playing on a sort of basic universal human emotion. And so I think doing something like Black Mirror in feature form is trickier because you're probably working with subtler ingredients.
Yeah, for
do you know what I mean?
For sure.
But
and
like,
a lot of nuance in the narrative, and it's just got to be highly philosophical and asking a lot of questions about the individual rather than just like jump scares. Yeah, it's a different sort of, it's a psychological kind of horror.
Totally. And but it's such fertile ground. Do you know what I mean? Like, AI, obviously you can't have this conversation without talking about AI, and like AI is a part of the film we're making. It's sort of like, we never mention the word AI in the film, because I think there's a kind of an understood language now that if you see someone in hologram form, there's some sort of AI that's So our film is basically like a startup company has developed this technology that can resurrect murder victims as holograms using all of their data that they've mined, as well as generative AI. And they're working with these murder victims to try and solve their murder. So it's like, rather than conducting a traditional investigation, you could just literally interview the victim and be like, who killed you? Would be the simplest version of it. And a woman is trying to solve the murder of her father who's been killed, but they were estranged in life. And so we see this connection form between her and her kind of like fake AI dad, if you will, as they try and solve the murder. So it's like Sherlock Holmes movie if Watson was the murder victim. And so it's a traditional murder mystery that's obviously sci-fi because of what's happening in it, but that's playing with this really like deeply emotional relationship at its core.
That was actually, as you were saying that, it reminded me of a Black Mirror episode. Quite different, but about the whole human connection with, I guess, just with the artificial character. Do you see the one, I think it was from the most recent series, the one with Paul Giamatti?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's called Eulogy. Yeah, he goes into the memories.
See, that was nice. That was a great episode.
It's a beautiful. See, that's and it weirdly has like a not awful ending, which is like unusual for Black Mirror.
That's true.
And I think I relate most, or I like most of the episodes that kind of end on a more slightly optimistic note. It's a sad episode, but like no one dies.
Yeah, it's highly emotional, and I guess plays into a lot of like nostalgia as well. And
but see, that's so cool because it's like the concept of that episode is like, what if you could step into a photograph, i.e. a memory.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, where did it take that idea for a walk, and like, where does it take you? And it's like, it's a pretty cool idea, and you can really lean into that, right? Like different types of, like a Polaroid would be a different experience from a more traditional like printed photograph versus like, could you step into a digital photograph? What would that feel like? Could you access other photos from the same night and piece together a video scene that you could walk around in?
Dude, I don't think we're far off doing something like that. Because you think about, like, if you take a photo on your phone and, something as simple as like an Android phone, I'll use that as an example because Google has this database of images. I'm sure Apple does as well, but just a collation of everything. Like, let's just say a household plant. It will have millions of images of that
iterations,
of that, where it could take your environment, recognize that type of plant, and then reconstruct it in this environment that you're in. It could reconstruct the entire environment and have you walk through it as you had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's possible now to do that, you know, to recreate environments, actually, which then gets me thinking about the last time when we spoke. I think a day or two after that, I saw in news about Acme Studios and the first AI big budget movie. You know about this one?
Yes, yeah. I don't know about the movie, but I've heard of
the studio.
The studio, yeah.
And I want to pick your brain on this because they raised a lot of interesting points. Because we were talking about at Tropfest, there was a short that was it a short?
Yeah, a short that was made entirely by AI.
And it had some, you know, probably not the best kind of initial response, but as expected. Mm-hmm. What was the temperature like at Tropfest when that, you know, in and around that,
when it screened?
Yeah,
it's interesting because I think people that knew that it was AI were I can't speak for everyone, but the sense I got, you know, in a room with a bunch of filmmakers was that people were a bit angry, or just frustrated, sort of being like, why is there an AI film here when there's so many people that would have made, you know, films with their, you know, friends and whatever that didn't get in. But I will say, like, it played well on the night, like with the general audience. Like, there was a bunch of gags and people laughed. Like, there was big laughter and stuff for gags. So it's like, I wonder, again, I'm just guessing at the general consensus here, but I wonder if, like, people that didn't realize it was AI and didn't maybe care just went along with it and had a good time. And people that did were like, what's going on here? And sort of thinking about it as a bigger question and as a part of a bigger narrative and having feelings either way about that, you know. And it begs a good question because, like, we've talked before about with AI films, like, of course, as a filmmaker, I feel threatened by that and don't know what's going to happen to my industry and I'm in my feelings about it. But, like, you know, if in 10 years, my boomer parents won't be able to tell the difference between an AI movie and a non-AI movie, and we'll watch them both just the same and get just as much enjoyment out of them, what can I do about that? Like, it's now beyond, like, you know, if it gets to that point of quality, it's now beyond anyone's feelings about it. It's going to be here for good, and you kind of have to figure out what that means for you and, you know, where you fit into it.
Would that mean for you as a filmmaker that it just means that the tools are different? Because you could potentially prompt AIs, like, just come up with a movie. And I'm talking as rudimentary as that prompt is. But it's gonna lack so much.
Compared to someone intentionally using it.
Yeah. So you as a filmmaker, you have a vision, you have a story, you have everything kind of outlined. And with AI, the more details you can give the prompt, then the better the result that you're going to get. So could it just mean that the prompt that you're giving it is going to be you being able to better articulate your vision and to take it from here, and instead of directing people, you're directing AI? Could it be that?
I would make the argument, and feel free to debate me on this, but, like, I would make the argument that if I was to do that, the result wouldn't be as good.
I don't think there's any debate. I think that's the answer is, like, I agree, but that's asterisk for now.
Sorry, I'm assuming that, like, AI could make a, you know, $100 million blockbuster looking film. I guess I'm assuming that, like, because I feel like that's not possible now, but I feel like we're talking theoretically as if, like, in 5 years or whatever it is, like, I could actually use AI to make the feature film that I'm trying to make right now.
Probably not right now.
No. Yeah. But so the film I'm trying to make right now, if AI got to a point where I could use it to make that film, particularly when it comes to writing, I think it would be worse. It would be more pedestrian.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because what AI is doing is it's taking, you know, it's taking everything that it knows and iterating. And of course,
yeah, it's just an aggregate.
A lot of the things that it's aggregating are amazing. It could take Alien, the script for Alien, the script for whatever amazing film you want, and it's using that. But the thing is, the difference is, when I say to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, I'm stuck with this decision that this character has to make in this film. Can you give me 10 options of what this character, knowing the character, knowing, whatever, give me 10 options. It'll give me 10 options, and I'll probably look at them and go, I wouldn't have thought of 8 of them. A couple of those are quite good. I'll use one of those. But the difference is I haven't done the work, and it hasn't come from here, and it hasn't come from my unique vision, which is created from my unique experience as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have to make 500 micro decisions like that in writing a feature film, if you're outsourcing that decision making, it might feel consistent, but it's actually not coming from the same unique place. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
David Lynch doesn't exist.
And then it just waters down the whole thing.
David Lynch doesn't exist if Denis Villeneuve doesn't exist if they're using AI, because it's their unique sort of flavor and vision and take on the world and weirdness. Like, frankly, like if you've seen Enemy.
Oh, I love that movie, man.
Like, what on earth is that last shot about? Like, it's so weird. And like, AI would never write that.
You're right. There's no way.
And I watched that and I'm just like, what just happened? And then I'm thinking about it for days and I'm like, is this? And then I'm reading people's takes and I'm going like, it clearly represents this. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't think of that, but I don't think that's right. It's just like, I guess it's like we're losing the potential for like these incredible unique voices that then, because they're interesting and unique and succeed when they're given more resources, now we've got Denny making the Dune trilogy, which is like storytelling and filmmaking and craft at its like at
perfect,
the absolute peak. Like, I would argue that if he'd been using AI to make his films earlier on, he wouldn't have got to that point. And like, that's a theoretical, so whatever. But like, and I will say, we're talking about some of the most successful filmmakers in the world. So there's a lot of other stuff getting made, right? There's Hallmark movies and there's trashy whatever. Mm-hmm. And like those things are going to be starting to get made with AI. I don't think there's any debate about that.
Yeah.
And whatever, that's kind of, you can feel whatever you want to feel about that. If that's an inevitability, then that's an inevitability, and I'm not going to be able to change that. But I guess I can do what's in my power, and that is to, when I'm sitting at the computer and going, this is hard. Thinking is hard. Thinking deeply is hard, and analyzing my own brain. I could just open the tab and, and that's what happens in the Tropfest show. That's exactly what happens. But if I'm killing my own chances at becoming successful if I do that.
So Unprompted is quite, it's a metaphor for all that.
Absolutely. It's like any screenwriter, I think, would watch that short and go like, I've been there. I've wanted to do that.
They should have played Unprompted right after that AI.
Yeah, well, it's kind of ironic that it's ironic that they selected my film, of which the message is clearly like, AI will come into your house and kill you if you use it.
In a GIMP mask.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
I do then consider, when you were talking about those 500 decisions that are coming from disparate places and then creating one entity which is completely disjointed and lacks harmony, that makes a lot of sense. But I'm also thinking about how movies are made these days, right? How, like, even with the most recent Fast and the Furious, how it's cut, and trying to...
It's like a music video.
Yeah, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you can't even make sense of what's happening. And
it's like Coco Melon for adults.
Yeah, like you could literally just sit there scrolling on your phone and it all still makes sense. It's there for passive consumption.
Right.
And, the most recent, was it... what was that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's movie? The Rip.
Yeah.
And they talked about that, how that they had to change the way that the script was written just to make sure and keep on dropping in the plot and keeping people up to speed with what's going on. And that's just how movies are made these days, because the way we consume them is kind of just...
But that's so interesting that you mentioned that, because that is a Netflix original. And that's a rule, that is literally a rule that Netflix writes into it.
Yeah.
They say you have to you have to craft this in such a way that someone on their phone is going to follow it. And so that is such a good example. Like it completely encapsulates the difference between what Netflix is trying to do on the whole and with what, you know, a group of filmmakers trying to create a film for cinema releases perhaps trying to
That's
do.
exactly what I'm trying to get at. Like, where is this? How does this work now, right? Because streaming services are they're thriving. Well, at least Netflix most certainly is. It's thriving because they have. I mean, their model is quite different to all the other streaming services. Maybe Disney would probably be similar-ish, but not quite the same.
Well, Disney has this giant catalog of old stuff and IP and things.
Yeah. So I guess that's the overlap, that they just have their own IP, whereas everyone else is just, you know, hiring licenses. So they have so much control over the industry that if you wanted to be part of it, then you've almost have to play to their rules. And by playing to their rules, Matt
Damon and Ben Affleck are, and you think of those as like powerful, important figures in film, and they're still going.
No, exactly, right. So this is just the way that it's going. Then you will have a lot of the old school filmmakers that are pushing back against it. You know, when you have like Spielberg will speak out against streaming services and how they're destroying cinema. Nolan has as well. Actually, this is a tangent, but that whole situation with Warner Brothers, that would have just completely fucking decimated the industry.
Oh man, I love how much you know about this.
Dude, all things, man. I love it. Like there's so much crossover, right? Like I do love film, obviously, like, you know, working at the cinemas, but also just the industry, because I want to have a better understanding of the implication of things, right? Like how things kind of move and evolve, and I'm a bit concerned of just the way that the movie industry is going, because I used to love going to the cinema. You know, having worked there, just that feeling of going in, that anticipation of the movie is fucking excellent, man. Even watching trailers, loved it.
It's funny because like I remember when Netflix, it was the first year, it was the mid 2010s, one of those years, I can't remember which it was. Maybe it was the late 2010s, whatever. But it was like, it came out that Netflix had spent $18 billion on original content that calendar year, and it was the highest spend ever, and it was higher than any of the major studios. And I remember us, like my filmmaking community, like, oh man, this is crazy. Like the world has changed. Like, because we could at that time see ourselves potentially making a film that's on Netflix. It was like, it felt like this kind of online streamer that like didn't gatekeep with movie theater stuff, because they have this platform they can, you know, stream movies. Like it meant that maybe opportunities are going to open up for us to make movies or whatever. And it feels so different now, because it's like, yes, but there's, you know, work with us like at your peril kind of thing. Like, not that Netflix is banging down my door, but do you know what I mean? It's like you can make a Netflix thing if you get the opportunity, but it's like with conditions.
Yeah.
And we, of course, all grew up going to cinemas like you and watching movies and loving the experience of like being in a dark room with 200 strangers, like crying together or laughing together or going like that. And that's kind of, you know, it still exists, but it's like different and, you know, only is going to be accessed by a very few filmmakers.
Yeah. I feel as though that like IMAX is going to hang around for a bit, but
the large format thing is kind of picking up steam, which is cool.
Well, because if you're going to go drop some coin,
do it right.
Yeah, right. You may as well just go all out. But like you were saying, there's only a very handful. I think it could just be Nolan. Maybe IMAX could just be a Nolan exclusive. It's only
Nolan Max.
Yeah, Nolan. That's it.
Nolan. That was a better one.
So the tie in with The Rip. So Ben Affleck, I think is it Ben Affleck's production? He sold an AI company to Netflix.
Yeah, just to one of the studios, someone. Yeah.
One of the studios for squillions of dollars. But the first production AI movie has Casey Affleck in it. And one of the arguments for AI, and I see this being a positive, but caveats, is that the way, you seen how they actually filmed in a grey room?
For The Rip?
No, not for the
Oh.
for this new
No,
Bitcoin movie.
I'm actually not aware of this.
So they filmed everything. So it was still with cast, right? They're using human talent, but they filmed entirely in a grey room, right? So
I understand how that works. And are they? I'm assuming they're doing mocap on facial.
no,
Oh, okay, interesting.
So they're basically in costume and they're just in a grey room. And the grey room is like, imagine if this room was 4 grey walls and grey blocks that we're sitting on. And then they'll use AI to generate the set.
Oh, so they are using the images they've shot of the people as they shot them.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. So AI...
They're not recreating the people.
They're not recreating the people. Not yet. What they're doing is recreating the
That's
environment
interesting, yeah.
entirely. And they're able to map out and change the lighting. They're doing as best as they can with the lights that they have, but it doesn't have to be perfect because AI can change all of that, pixel for pixel. So they're using the talent, but essentially we're also reducing the talent to pixels.
I mean, it's like, there's an argument where you go, James Cameron's already doing that with Avatar. Like, literally, he's doing that.
That's my point, right? Yeah.
But then the other argument is like, well, James Cameron included, they're not employing the same like level of set designers and builders and carpenters and production designers and all this kind of stuff. And so all these jobs are being cut out. But it's like, man, who am I? Like, I am such an ant on the behemoth of the, filmmaking world or whatever, where it's like, I can have these opinions, but there's a part of me that doesn't want to be a taxi driver, like shaking his fist at the Uber, because I'm part of an archaic system that has been superseded. But like, I know how I want to make films, and that's not how I want to make films.
But then
I would much rather say, rather than shooting on fake sets, like as in grey sets, why don't we just force ourselves to write films set in locations we have access to?
Yeah, but then now
so
you
we
don't
don't have to pay
though.
for them.
But now you don't have to. So if you wanted to film in New York...
I know, but what I'm saying is like, if our attitude is like, we want this to feel very real, then we act accordingly, right? We write, like we film in our study, like I did for Unprompted. So I guess what I'm saying is if I make the decision as a filmmaker that I don't want to do that, then I'll need to figure out what that looks like for me.
Yeah, and then I think what the argument is, or at least what they're trying to propose with this new form of filmmaking, is that it just opens the opportunities. Much like how I did an episode with Dream Screen. I think that the premise was great, what they were proposing, and that is creating an artificial environment, right? So would you draw the line in the sand? Because like I suppose that you would find a lot of utility in using LED walls, and that isn't deemed as artificial.
I mean, the argument I'm making, it's the same thing, right? Because it's still not employing the production designers and the whatever. Like, it's probably employing a few 3D artists to like create the backgrounds, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like, it's all, and I totally hear what you're saying. Where it's like, what's the line? Like, if technology means that the traditional like, process is dead, then like what does that mean for us? What comes next, kind of thing.
I think it just opens up opportunities for you to unlock the imagination, because now you're not limited to the locations. You're not limited to props, set designs. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And much like how, like that's using AI as the tool, not as the creator. Where like, I remember when I went to uni, I was being taught by lecturers that walked into the room with their fucking pencil case, and I'm there with my laptop. So they could go out and they could go do their designs with their rulers and their pencils, do it the old traditional way. Take them all afternoon. I could do it in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I see the correlation you're drawing, because like the creator is still in complete control.
Complete control.
Yeah, but like, it's not the same because in filmmaking there's way more people that have to be involved. So even if it's just actors, like it will rest, the quality of and whether the film works will totally rest on their shoulders.
Yeah. And
So-
it puts a lot more pressure on them.
So is it going to be, what's it going to be like as an actor sitting in a grey room, sitting on a grey couch, trying to act like you're a detective in a 1950s noir film? Like it's probably a lot easier, and you'll get a better performance, I imagine, if you're actually sitting in an old, like speakeasy or whatever. So like, I guess it's
going to
interesting.
get better actors.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because what you were just talking about brings to mind, like, have you seen, probably stupid to ask, but have you seen like the original Lord of the Rings films?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Hobbit films?
No.
Okay, so yeah, you probably heard they were bad, but like the difference is like incredible. Like what you watch them back to back, and the difference in how good the original films are versus the new ones is just truly mind-boggling. Same creative team, obviously access to way more, like basically unlimited resources. And Peter Jackson is someone who's obsessed with moving the technology of filmmaking forward. And so when presented with the opportunity to like do things almost entirely virtually, he absolutely took it. So we had Ian McKellen, one of our great living actors, acting against the tennis ball in an entirely green studio versus him like out on a mountain, like struggling to walk up the hill with the hobbits or whatever. And you can see, man, like you can see the difference on screen. It's even if it's not necessarily 100% like tangible, like you can exactly explain why it feels different. It just feels different.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not as good. So
I don't disagree with that.
I mean, like that doesn't necessarily like end the argument or anything, but it's more like, what intangibles are we losing in stories? I'm so curious to see.
We'll have to wait and see.
I'm so curious to see what's it called? I haven't even heard of it.
I don't know what it's called, but it's to do.
Is it a Netflix original? Like, is it a streaming film? Do you know?
They've only just finished filming, earlier this year. I don't think. I didn't see Netflix being mentioned anywhere.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm so curious to see what it's going to be like, because it's like, as a filmmaker, I'm like kind of maybe watching the future of my industry.
It'll be much the same as just watching like an Avengers movie, that when it's just so heavily CGI'd anyway. Like, I don't know what's real in any of that.
Yeah.
It's barely anything really.
And yeah.
And it's almost like the people are kept in it just as tokens, just so we have that link to it being real. It's like, it's not. It's
you wonder if there's like, I know it's such a grey area because there is no clear line, but you wonder if there might, and you probably talked about this with artist friends, is there almost going to be like a stamp of human made, like a stamp of approval, like a certification where it's like, this film is like 80% human made or something, where it's like there's almost different categories and people.
Possibly.
Because like it's a weird thing to think about, but like one cool thing about streaming and things like Letterboxd, and also just the fact that the barrier to entry for making a film has been lowered so much. Like I can get a DSLR and make a feature film if I wanted to. It'd probably suck, but like I could do it. Whereas, traditionally you shot on film, you would need a lab to develop that. You'd then need like a giant physical machine to actually cut it and edit it. That can all be done at home on a laptop now.
Yeah.
I'm saying the most basic stuff, but it's like the barrier to entry is low. But what that means is that people who never could before have opportunities to make stuff. And so you can niche the hell out of the form. So it's like people will, one of the cool things about Letterboxd is you can make lists. So people will be like, I love like schlocky 70s body horror. And so I'm going to make a list of the best schlocky 70s body horror. And you watch one film and you love it. You're like, this is my thing. And then you're reading reviews and you're like, this guy loves this. Okay, he's made a list. Okay, I'm going to go into this rabbit hole and like niche the hell out on this thing. And that's cool. Like that, you would have had to have gone to a video store in the past and found a physical community of people to do that with. And so all that is to say, like, as a filmmaker, if you can like have another job or something and find a way to just kind of make films on the side, and maybe that's with your friends and maybe it is 100% physical, but you're making something very specific for a very specific group of people, like that's sustainable and you can find a market for that.
Sustainable in what way though? Because how could something like that, when I think sustainable, I think that there has to be a layer of monetization.
Yeah. Like sustainable, potentially money-wise, you'd need to keep the cost low. I think by nature, some of these genres, like the cost is probably going to be lower, particularly if you're doing it with your friends. Yeah. So like, for example, the alpha test short that you just watched cost us 35 grand to make. And you know, that you could imagine if we're like, we want to challenge ourselves to make a feature film set entirely in those 2 rooms for 90 minutes. It would have cost us more. We would have had to hire the studio for longer. We maybe would have had to build an extra set, because that was a set that we built. Maybe have to build a couple of extra rooms or something. You know, you're paying actors for longer time, etc. But like, you know, there's a world where you could make that for 500 grand, and like 500 grand is not that hard to get back and maybe make a profit on, particularly when you're in a very specific genre. It's hard to find 500 grand, obviously, but like if you can get a start, like there's, you know, there are streaming services for horror and sci-fi and stuff, and you can kind of...
Specifically for horror?
Yeah,
really?
There's one called Shudder, which is huge, and it's only horror, basically, or like elevated genre and stuff, but usually in the horror space. So like you're even seeing Shudder do like Shudder originals and stuff. And there's, you know, there's a trans filmmaker in Adelaide named Alice Mayo Mackey, who's just churning out these kind of like trans slashery horror films, and so specific, like such a specific niche, but they're experiencing real success because it's like there's an audience for that. It's very specific, but like those people will go mad for it. And so then it's like they become a voice in that space, and people want to, you know, give them resources. So
I guess that's the benefit of, okay, so when you have AI that helps with keeping production costs low, it creates opportunities for, it lowers the barriers to entry for other players to come in to then create what it is that they want. And then you start to see things start to splinter more off into their own spaces, and to create new genres like trans horror, which... Sure, it didn't exist up until now, and because the barriers to entry are lower than ever. So then you can find your audience. So I'm always a proponent of when things become more accessible. I always believe that if they're more accessible, then it's only going to help the industry as a whole. Right now, like as long as it's being utilized as a tool, then it'll just stay as a tool. If it ever gets to the point where it's us versus that, then we're in trouble, right? But for as long as that we're in control of it, then it's just a tool, and one that can help expedite so many other processes.
Yeah, I mean, in doing so, it will kill jobs. But I guess like any industry that's experienced technological transformation, I guess the same thing is happening.
That's an
it's
inevitable.
It's easy for me to say, like, you know, I'm not a production designer who could have production designed that film that was shot in the grey room, you know.
Yeah,
I'd probably
it's
feel
tough.
really strongly about it if I was. But yeah,
it's tough. But like, everything's going to be twofold, right? Like every change, iteration of anything means that, you know, there's going to be always be an opportunity cost. So I'm sure that there's still going to be a market for, you know, filmmakers that want to do things traditionally and still do everything with tactility. And, you know, to your point is that you believe that you're going to get the best out of actors if you're able to immerse them in the environment. And I'm a big proponent of your environment is key, especially when you're talking about creativity, right? Like if you're going to be in a creative environment with other creative people, it's going to bring more out of you. You can't even argue that. So if you're going to strip back a lot of the, I guess, the creativity in the environment and literally making it grey, then you're removing a lot of the essence from it, and you're expecting people as people to give more, but then they don't even know what to give because there's no feedback there. And we bounce off each other. Like there's an energy exchange whenever we're collaborating on something.
Yeah, you could probably imagine what it might feel like to act against a tennis ball. Like, it's tricky, right? A really good actor will do it and probably make it believable, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think acting is insanely
it's
difficult.
Wild. It's so wild. It's so wild. Like, just an interesting story from Alpha Test. Like, very, very talented lead actress.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah, Anna McGann. She, you know, there was a scene. These shots didn't make it into the cut because it felt too much. Actually, like in terms of the emotional beat felt too far to push it that way. But when she's looking through the window and something particular is said that makes her realize the absolute truth of her situation.
The penny dropped, yeah.
Yeah, like the audience already knows, but she in the world hasn't fully realized it yet. And, you know, I wanted her to cry, like on camera. I wanted that character to cry.
Ah, okay.
And so we talked about it and didn't do prep or anything. Like I just kind of told her it was going to happen and said I'd give her the space she needed and stuff. Set it up, like we talked through, we were ready to go. Action, just on the spot, just cries.
Jeez,
like
really?
Just actual tears falling from her. I was like, that was incredible. Like, can we iterate slightly, just do a bit more of this or whatever?
Do it again?
Did it again, same thing.
Really?
Did it 3 times. I was like, that's enough. We've got what we need. I don't want to, like, you know, emotionally abuse this person. And so we cut it, and then she sort of went to the green room, and when I had a second, I went out there and just wanted to check on her and say, hey, you doing okay? Like, I hope you didn't have to access anything too intense there. Because my assumption is, like, you have to, like, go somewhere emotionally. Like, that's what I would try and do, you know. She was like, no, I just, it's a muscle I know how to use.
Oh, my God.
Like, once we cold cut and I knew the shot was done, like, and I could leave, like, I just packaged up that muscle, that emotion, put it on a shelf in my head and moved on.
Oh, an emotional. I thought it was like what, she can control her tear ducts?
Like
that.
Maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, I know that actors sometimes, you know, work on that, but it's like, it just blew my mind because I was like, I couldn't even imagine having the emotional control. Like, you know, I'm such an open book. I can't hide my emotions at all. They're just on the surface. And so if you tell me when I'm feeling pissed off and depressed and angry or whatever to be like, laugh and be really happy, like, I couldn't do it. Like, there's no way. Like, so yeah, just to agree with you, like, good actors are just a rare breed, and they're just incredible. I'm so in awe of them. I could never ever do what they do.
It's that will be very, very hard to replicate in any way other than just having a human. But like Bruce Willis has signed off his image rights, right? So that'll be interesting to see what that looks like.
I mean, it's tricky, right? Like, you could see the temptation of any filmmaker being like, wait, you're saying we can cast like 90s Bruce Willis in our movie? Like, right? It's like, but then you're like, what was it about 90s Bruce Willis that we love so much? Like the steez, the like attitude, like, can you recreate that? Like, is that energy that you captured in the bottle on set of those films, like, actually recreatable? Like,
well, Val Kilmer, you see that? Like his next movie?
That's right. Yeah, there's some shots of it.
Yeah.
I guess yet to see if it's sort of believable or not.
Oh yeah, we might be there. I mean, but that was given by the blessing. His family gave the blessings to do that because he was actually the role was written for him, and he got ill and then couldn't do it.
So he was going to do it.
He was going to do it anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So the family gave the blessings to recreate him, which has just got to be weird, man. It's got to be really weird.
Yeah, I mean, they've done that already, you know, with young Carrie Fisher in Star Wars and stuff. Like, they have kind of recreated people who have passed away. It's always a bit uncanny valley to me. Like, I don't think we've quite got to the point where it's, like, believable. But, like, I'm sure that day's coming.
I saw this video explaining about, like, there's how AI isn't going to be able to capture a lot of the essence, and it had this example from an old like 1940s 1950s movie, a black and white, where the actor, she went to sit down on the couch, and as she was sitting down, she did a bit of a shuffle and adjusted her skirt as she was sitting down, and kind of just did the shimmy, which we would have paid no attention to that at all. And the reason why we wouldn't pay any attention to that is because it was such a normal thing to do. As a person is going to be sitting down, if she's wearing a dress, she will adjust herself to sit comfortably. And it's just something that is just so human and normal. We don't think about it. But then it's a sort of thing that AI may not necessarily think to include as a human characteristic. It will just be someone sitting down and the dress will just sit perfectly. Because it wouldn't think, how would we interact with our actual costume as we're interacting with the platform.
But further to that, it wouldn't maybe be able to go, a woman might be a bit self-conscious and therefore would do X with her dress. Like, that's like, I don't think, like, you know, unless you programmed it in, like, I wouldn't know that, like, because it's not human. He's never done that before. Like,
Yeah. Well, and that's the same, like what you were saying. Like, for me, I wouldn't think to include that in because I've never sat down in a dress myself. So if I was to create a character, I wouldn't even intentionally ask the actors, like, can you please adjust your skirt just to make it look more human, right? Like, she'll just do what she does.
because she's human.
Because she's human. Yeah. So there's that, man. So a lot of interesting things. But I would even just ask, like, if you're creating your movie, just to even, like, maybe just tinker, just see what it's like. Just, create an environment. Just even to storyboard, if everything's going to be shot indoors, like, what could the environment even look like?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think perhaps using AI, like, great example, like someone like me using AI to create rudimentary but like very specific previs animations. Like, I could see myself absolutely doing that because it's like otherwise I'd just be kind of sketching it out or like writing a description. It would it's not something that I would be able to afford to hire someone to do. But if it gives me the ability to do it and therefore better communicate with my actors and crew, like, I think I'm going to probably use that. But then it's like, that to me is like, yeah, it's not really that different from like using Photoshop or using Premiere Pro. It's it is truly just a tool. It's just a bit more of an advanced tool.
So just
that's a different category in my mind.
Yeah, but then it's just grey area, right? And then it just fits.
Yeah.
Where would you draw the line along this spectrum? And I think that we just have different tipping points. We're like, no, that's too far. But on a slight tangent, have you seen Iron Lung?
I haven't seen the film, but I've seen, like,
You know the story behind that and all that?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was
Crazy.
pretty bloody interesting because my son watches a lot of Markiplier's videos.
Sure.
So
Did he want to go see it?
no, he might not even know about it, but I just saw his name attached to this and how, like, fuck, you can act now as well. Okay, sure. I saw the trailer for it. I saw the game preview. I saw some of his gameplay of the game, which inspired the movie as well. So that whole story I thought was really interesting.
Dude, he made like 40 million or something and self-distributed. That is unheard of.
Start to finish, the whole thing.
No 50% split with the studio.
Crazy.
It is truly crazy. I mean, it's like
cinema release as well.
Yeah, like wide cinema release. So like that something like that is, as a filmmaker, you'll watch it and you're like, that's super exciting and like really encouraging. But then at the same time, like, I'm not a YouTuber with like how many 10 million followers.
He'll
whatever it is. Like, he has an inbuilt audience that he can activate. And you could say, well, what's stopping you? Like, start a YouTube channel or whatever. But it's like, that's not where I've sort of devoted my energy in my career and as I've developed my skill set. So it's probably not,
Did someone say to you, why don't you just start a YouTube channel?
Oh no, it's just like, well, it's kind of it's an argument. If I was to say like, oh, he did that, that's awesome, but like he's got all these followers, then it would make sense that someone might say, well, you could do that. Like,
it's like, yeah, well, you could, but that's
it's just not where I've applied my energy.
It's
and so there are other ways to do it for sure. And like, I think that if I suddenly spent 3 days of my week trying to do a YouTube channel, everything else would suffer.
And I think for him, it'd be more like 18, 20 hours a day.
Yeah, right.
And he doesn't have kids, I don't think. So it is the dedication that he would have to be able to put himself in a position to self-fund, film, act, distribute a movie.
I mean, that's just such a crazy success story. But yeah, I mean, having kids definitely helps you prioritize your time. This time is very valuable. But there's hope, man. I mean, that happening, that never could have happened like 30 years ago. So like,
no.
And that's a great success story in my mind. So it's like, things are changing in lots of different directions and it's really exciting and I'm thrilled to be part of it. But it's also really scary. Like, and I direct TV commercials and stuff for a living and hopefully that's not something that will go away. Although, plenty of AI ads now. So, I may have to figure out another way to make a living, but like, I don't think I'll ever stop trying to make films.
Filming it's just the best way for us to convey stories, for us to engage with. And this is this thing that is just so ironic with the way things are going because we have a connection with film. It's not even necessarily film as as a creative outlet, it's just, to what you were saying very early on, it's how it just encompasses so many different things that we are so immersed in it. It's the visuals, it's the sound, I guess it's just playing on different emotional, and everything's just working in harmony for us to experience something. And it's just that connection that we have. So it's ironic that it's now moving to it's now moving down avenues that is removing a lot of that human connection. So I don't think that film is going to go as a way of storytelling. I feel as though that the way that the stories are being told needs a bit of a revamp. I don't like how there's this a belief that we have to that people are watching films passively, so you have to drop the plot in every 15, 20 minutes to remind them of what's going on. I think that there's a desire for people to actually want to be immersed in this world.
Well, it's like someone like you who's a visual artist having like a thing underneath every picture saying, this is exactly what this means, and it leaves no room for interpretation, or this is what I was thinking about when I painted this or whatever. It's like, you're like taking away like the good work that people do when they view art,
Yeah. Or just be, instead of having these, I could have just typed in what I was thinking I was going to do with these, typed in the prompt, and then print it out and be like, there it is.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a generic version of it.
Yeah. It's like removing from people the ability to like feel and experience something, I think.
Yeah, or at least just not treating them with respect. I think that's the biggest problem that I have with where things are going in the industry. And when I say like things, I don't think things are going that way. I think they were, and I feel as though there's a bit of a swing of back to now, like with A24, they've come up and put themselves in a position where there is a lot of integrity in that brand, where you will see an A24 movie, whether it's being produced or just them being attached to it, it adds some value to it where you feel as though it's something a little bit offbeat, right? Like it's not necessarily going to be what you expect, or at least it's going against the grain of the norm. So we'll see how long that lasts.
And they're championing like filmmakers with unique visions and like giving them actual money to make them like which is from the outside at least, it sounds like they're not meddling, which is traditionally what a studio would do. It's like the higher the budget, the more they want, input.
Well, and I guess that they see that that's the point, right? That's the whole point, and that's where the gap is now. Because, and coming off the back of the whole Marvel situation, right, where it was just like a clean sweep of every cinema, they just took up all the cinemas. It just creates so much space, right? Like you could think it's a dire situation, and it did really feel like it. But then there's always going to be a swing, right? Like people are just over it, man.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really get them thinking or feeling in any kind of way. It's just predictable storytelling.
Yeah.
So, mate, I'm excited to see horror sci-fi. It's actually one of my favorite, if not my favorite genre.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi horror specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like definitely it has horror elements, but it's probably more mystery, sci-fi mystery. With some horror elements for sure.
I think the thing about sci-fi is that it asks a lot of philosophical questions, and I think that they're the best sci-fi movies have that. They beg something from you, like something for you to think about, and even when the movie finishes, you walk away, and you can peel the layers and really like start thinking about what did that even mean. So, man, I'm excited to see this. I really, really enjoyed the shorts that I've seen.
Thank you, bro.
And going from Unprompted to Alpha Test, how much time was there in between the two?
Probably about a year, I think. Maybe, yeah, about a year, I think.
It seemed like there was a massive leap between the two.
Sure.
I really liked Unprompted. Don't get me wrong, but it felt Alpha Test felt. I don't want to say more polished. That's not the right word.
We definitely spent more money on it. We built sets. We were able to paint the walls exactly the color we wanted, for example. On Alpha Test, so
I think it just felt like everything was just dialed up that little bit
Sure.
that little bit, and it felt like a more legitimate production.
Sure.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see how this evolves to the next phase.
The feature is kind of almost in a way a mix between the two, which is going to be interesting. Yeah. I'm buzzing for Luke.
Mate, let's just wrap it up here
Sure,
anyway, dude.
sure. That was
All right.
good.
Steve Packard, dude. Thanks for jumping on,
That
mate.
was fun.
Downstairs.
Sweet. Yeah.